Welcome to Toffee TV. I'm with John Blaine from the Everton Shareholders Association. Chairman?
Yeah,
Chairman?
indeed, yeah.
We're in the Winslow Hotel ahead of the Safe Standing Roadshow that John's putting on tonight.
Well, we're putting on, but yeah.
Well, not we, but
Not
Everton Shareholders Association. I'm looking forward to that, John. That should be really, really good. But we're here to discuss a unbelievable 24 hours for Everton, I would say, from the boardroom down. What did you make first of all of the changes last night with Professor Denise Barrett at Baxendale taking over as chief executive from Robert Elston?
I think it was predictable, wasn't it?
Yeah.
The lady has been deputy CEO for quite a while. It seemed to me, and I guess to most people, that we weren't going to appoint somebody from outside, or at least not in it, now,
Yeah.
or when Robert Elston left. And if you look at who's available internally, she's the outstanding candidate. Not just the fact that she, was the deputy, but I couldn't imagine who else could take on the job. It probably, if you took down two people, it would be her or Ryzantsev. And I think they probably picked the right person in picking Denise. Yeah.
What makes her the outstanding candidate from a business perspective?
That's based on the internal candidates.
Okay.
Yeah. If you look at the board as in the round prior to yesterday,
Yeah.
then the only full-time people, either people who were at the club all day, every day, were the chief exec and the deputy chief exec. The rest of them are part-time to some degree or other. So that's what gives her the edge. She's got experience. She knows the people. Experience of the football club.
Yeah.
She knows the people. She's been running large portions of the operation for the last year anyway. And it looks to me from the announcement that's been made that if you look at what Ryzantsev's going to be doing, or what Keith Harris is going to be doing, they've fundamentally sort of carved up what Elston was doing, with Denise doing the big rump of it,
Yeah.
the other two guys taking on those specialist areas.
What does this signal from fired Moshiri then going forward?
I'm not convinced it currently signals anything. This board's been established now for a couple of years. We're now one man down.
Yeah.
I think we probably still need to enhance the board with some world-class business acumen. The person who might replace Bill, I guess, but be an executive chairman, somebody who worked at the club all day,
Yeah.
every day, and brings skills and experiences from wider business.
And you mentioned Keith Harris there, who's
Yeah.
become the deputy
Indeed, yeah.
chief
Yeah,
executive. He's got a background in buying football clubs, or help buying football clubs.
I think since he got out of day-to-day, 9-to-5 type stuff in the finance world, he's been the sort of financial advisor in a whole host of things, hasn't he? He's managed businesses into administration. He was clearly involved in the building of Wembley, the new Wembley Stadium, and of course he advised Moshiri and yeah, it was Moshiri, which way around? Yeah, he advised Moshiri and got to Bill and made those introductions. And certainly when I met Moshiri a couple of years back, and I was introduced to Keith at that time, he was the one who was showing interest in the stadium. He'd looked at Goodison, he'd sat in not quite every seat, but and done some of those basic things. So I'm not at all surprised that he's been announced as the guy who's leading from the stadium perspective. But there's no indication he's full-time either. So obviously there's some work to be done there.
Is he the guy you would say is the guy with the contacts? Because I think that's what Everton have been missing for a few years, is somebody with a dearth of contacts all over the business world and the football world. And he just seems, with his background, he seems to have a lot of what's been needed.
Yeah, I mean, he's been in and around football for quite a long time. You say that the football club didn't have a broad range of contacts. I think we had reasonably good contacts within football itself. Bill's been around a long time. Elston himself had been chief exec for over 10 years. But what they didn't really have, and perhaps we don't have even now outside of Moshiri, is contacts at that top table, where the big boys play, where your friends are Sheikh Mansour and Abramovich and things like that. So that's, I think, where we still need some enhancement at board level from a full-time perspective. People talk about Dean and from Arsenal or ex-Arsenal and the like, but many of these guys have had their day, and we need people who have currency, people who have relationships now, not they had relationships. And that probably is still a lacking that this board has, I think.
Do you think this is the the beginning of the end for the old, what we've, you know, the Bill Kenwright era now, because obviously John Woods is sort of disappearing. It looks like maybe Moshiri's going to buy shares. Elston's gone. Do you think it won't be too long before Bill has to say?
I think I think it's fair to say, if you wanted to put draw a line in the sand and say, is this the beginning of the end? You know, the beginning of the end was March a couple of years ago.
I think that was the end of the beginning.
Yeah. Well, maybe we've got to the end of the beginning now. So that we've got to that position now where we're starting to see some movement. Clearly, John Woods is no longer deputy chairman. And I think that's sort of, if you think about it from a Farhad Moshiri perspective, his two guys on the board, Ryzantsev, perhaps, I guess, officially reports to the CEO, so reports to Denise, sort of, but Denise reports to the chair or the deputy chair, so she's the sandwich, the filling in the sandwich between Keith Harris and Ryzantsev, with the other two guys, as you say, Bill and John, moving closer to the door. And, you know, there's plenty of rumours around, is John going to divest his shares before Bill does? John's always been, I guess, sort of a silent partner in that relationship. And I just have to assume that Bill would like to see it through, certainly into Bramley Moor. But he himself may, you know, become quite a small shareholder, you know, quite a while before we get anywhere near the new stadium.
Do you think his power's been diluted now by, you know, as you said, the carving up of the board?
I don't think it's diluted. I think he has a really good relationship with Farhad Moshiri. I think, and you know, whether people like it or not, I think that's true. Clearly, he's been a big advocate of Denise, so there may be some loyalty there, if you will. And it remains to be seen, because I don't personally know what sort of relationship Bill has had or has with Keith Harris and Sasha Ryzantsev. But in Sasha and Denise, we've sort of got the coming of the new kids, haven't we? They're both young people in relative terms, both inexperienced in their own ways, but very experienced in others. So it's about putting good people around them, I think. That's the key. Yeah,
I mean, I know a lot of people want to see Bill leave, but I think if Bill's around the club and he's an advisor to Moshiri, I think that's it. I think that's a powerful tool.
It is, and I think, you know, people, especially with social media and the like, they like to pick an icon to throw the darts at, and for many a long year that would be people like Elston and Robert, and Bill. And I've said on the podcast that I do many times, you know, when Bill's gone, we'll miss him, because there's no substitute for experience. I mean, we know the man's a romantic and might not be as decisive as we would like, but you throw the baby out with the bathwater if you let all that experience just go overnight. And I think, even though he may not be a significant shareholder going forward, I would like to think he'd be in and around the club, not with any executive authority, of course, but exactly as you just said, from an advisory point of view, maybe doing being available as a coach or a mentor for some of these younger board members.
Yeah, definitely. And then on the other side of sort of the coin of the running of the club, Marcel Brands has been announced today.
Finally, this afternoon,
PSV announced them. But that's like, for me, I mean, I don't know how you see it, but obviously we've had Steve Walsh doing a job, let's just say. But it seems to me with Marcel Brands, this is more, it's more the business of the football side of things. Whereas Steve Walsh, I still think in terms of he looked like a coach or a scout doing a job that wasn't necessarily his job.
But
this
a scout,
well, this guy looks like a real football businessman,
and I think that's important. And maybe if you think that in essence we've just gone from 6 board members to 5, maybe we're going to recruit an executive chairman or something, you know, in the future. But if 6 was a good number, why not have the 6th guy being the director of football? And certainly I'm a huge advocate that is a very senior level position. As you rightly say, it is managing the footballing side of the business. You could be so bold as to say the manager works for the director of football, and then you don't get the conflict we got for a while between Walsh and Koeman, and the incoming manager has to accept he's going to work for with a director of football, and he appears to be, on paper, the calibre of person that we've been looking for. I don't know whether there's any psychology in the day that Allardyce goes, he gets appointed, and the same with Silva, if it is Silva or Fonseca or somebody else. But I think where we are right now is in a better place, certainly from a director of football's perspective. We need to know who the manager's going to be, and the board itself is different, but it's the same. It's 5/6 of the previous board. Most of their responsibilities appear to be what they've probably had for a while. Yeah. It's just that we've been told what they are. And as we and other people might say, at least we know who's accountable. So if the commercial performance is poor, it's Ryzantsev's fault, you know. If the footballing side, the recruitment, the retention of players and so on, if that happens, it's the director of football's fault. And having roles and responsibilities and knowing who's accountable is quite important to driving outcomes, of course. So we're probably in a better place. If I wanted to express some caution, I would think, you know, is this as a result of a plan, or is it a bit reactive in around the fact that Elston is definitely going? Yeah. We've got the financial year drawing to a close, so it's quite convenient that all the new jobs start on the 1st of June, and time will tell. So let's see.
It does at least feel like there's a plan, because Marcel Brands has been getting touted for two months or so, and literally, you know, the 3 days after the season's finished, he's in. And it's already been said that Denise Barrett-Baxendale and Marcel Brands will lead the recruitment of a new manager. Indeed. So straight away you've got that authority,
and that's what's important, you know. And I think, you know, Everton fans, like everyone else, I suppose, quite impatient. And Brands was so long in the media, you get we're going to do an Everton here, and he's going to go somewhere else, you know. You see people saying, oh my God, Fonseca's gone to West Ham, you know, why would he go there? And lots of these things all happen in the background. I, myself, as you probably have heard many times, you know, if you listen to those podcast things, would say, if we were prepared to spend all that money to extract Silva from Watford, why wouldn't he be our first choice? Yeah. And it appears now, does it not, that he's always been the first choice. He's always been waiting in the shadows, and as soon as Everton and Watford can sort out the how much are they going to get, you know, for some form of compensation, then he'll be appointed. If that's known, and behind the scenes he knows, Brands knows, Moshiri knows, he can do all the planning while he's at home. Yeah. He can have meetings, he can look at players, he can decide what he wants.
Yeah, I was going to say, well, east of it is Silva. Then at least he's had the best part of 4 or 5 months to look at Everton's team and go, I know exactly what I need. And I'm hoping, and as you said before, this is Everton now, that all those things have been looked at and sorted out.
Yeah, and you know, if he is doing that work behind the scenes, and he can do it with the director of football now as well, who no doubt will spend a couple of weeks in Russia watching the World Cup and things like that. As long as the new manager is appointed, I think, for when the players come back from pre-season, because they'll all be gone now. They're either off with the international teams or they're on holiday. But when they come back, then they need to have a manager there. Yeah.
Well, let's hope they do.
Indeed, let's hope.
You can hear more of John's thoughts, much more. He's only given a little bit away here. He's keeping it for the Everton Business Matters podcast, which you can check out through the Blue Room podcast. Get more of John.
Thursdays,
He's this week, Thursdays. He's going to have all the goss for you.
Yeah, more than here. Yeah.